We're about 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Scarlet Fu and Alix Steel here, and here to help you take us through the closing bell with a global simulcast. We're joined now by Tim Stenovec and Katie Greifeld, and of course, we bring together the best of Bloomberg Television, Bloomberg Radio, and YouTube audiences worldwide. As we parse through the most important parts of this trading day, was there an important part of this trading day today, Tim?
There wasn't an important part of the trading day, but I think it's actually an important week, even though it's a holiday-shortened trading week. Because we got a lot of economic data. We got a payrolls report coming on Friday. We get those Fed minutes on Wednesday. We get JOLTS tomorrow, Katie. So, and as you were pointing out earlier, volume wasn't actually lower than the 20-day average. So we're actually seeing a little bit of action.
I have to applaud you for making a lot out of nothing because, the jobs report obviously is top tier. And when it comes to volume, I have to imagine this is going to be maybe the last day that we see above average volume.
Fed minutes are not nothing.
They're pretty close to nothing. They're pretty dated.
No, you guys are missing the move. It was the bond market. You had a nice, juicy move in the back end. You didn't want to take my thunder?
I don't want to take your thunder. Yeah.
And if you just look at it intraday, it was so interesting. We had some buying coming across right as that ISM manufacturing data hit that was a little weaker. We're going to talk about that later on in the next hour. And then boom, you got the Supreme Court decision on Trump immunity. And then bond yields had a pretty solid spike higher.
Yeah, it's not every day
this is the thunder we didn't want to take away, Alix.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, we're going to get to the closing numbers for the indexes, for the equity indexes, and then we're going to get to recap everything in the bond market once again, because it's a big move.
All right. Thank you, Scarlett, for validating me. We are coming up to the close. Oh, there we go. The closing bells. We are off to the races. The first day of the second half of 2024. The Dow Jones Industrial Average up about 0.1% up 43 points. The S&P 500 up 0.3%, about 13 points. We're settling out here, but the Nasdaq is up by 0.8%, 146 points. And there you kind of settle out on this Monday.
All right, peeling back one of the layers of the S&P 500, we did see 126 stocks move higher. We had 375 stocks move lower, so speaks to some of those larger cap names, certainly powering the index higher by close to 0.3%. All
right, let's take a look at the IMAP and show you which sectors are really leading and lagging behind. The leaders here, tech, up by 1.3%, consumer discretionary up by 0.75%. That's really Tesla, and financials slightly higher. But there were 3 indexes or industries that did finish the day with at least 1% declines. We're talking materials, industrials, and REITs.
All right, you got the decliners today, Katie, so I get to do the gainers. When Carol's out, I get to do the gainers. I want to talk about shares of Tesla.
That was mean.
That was mean. Higher today by more than 6%. They jumped after we saw Chinese peers NIO and Li Auto report vehicle delivery data for the month of June that showed increases versus the same period a year ago. So some bullish news there. The move marks Tesla's 5th straight day of gains. It would be the longest winning streak in almost a year. We are going to get Tesla sales data a little bit later in the week, when we'll sort of see if the company delivered vehicles that are higher than they were last year. That's certainly an important metric for investors to watch. Also, earlier today, Wells Fargo added Tesla to its tactical ideas list for the third quarter. They said that the car maker's delivery growth looks set to decline. Okay. Shares of Apple also higher on this day today. It turns out that there's a report over at Apple Insider that's getting quite a bit of attention. Shares higher by close to 3%. Apple Insider reporting that the company has increased its order with TSMC on chips for the next iPhone, so certainly a bullish indicator there. Apple Insider reporting that the company's getting ready to sell from 90 to 100 million iPhone 16s. It's higher than the order volume of the previous version of the iPhone. And finally, checking out shares of Boeing. A lot of Boeing news today. Shares ended up finishing the day higher by 2.6%. The company agreed to buy back Spirit Aerosystems for $37.25 a share. It's an all-stock deal. It values Spirit at $4.7 billion. After 2 decades of being separate companies, they're actually getting back together. This all in an attempt to fix Boeing's manufacturing defects. Also, the U.S. Justice Department planning to charge Boeing with criminal fraud after finding the company violated a 2021 deferred prosecution agreement tied to 2 previous fatal crashes. That not sending shares of the company lower. George Ferguson over at Bloomberg Intelligence was on our program a little earlier. He said that it looks like that some of the challenges of getting to a better place are starting to get fixed, Katie.
All right, let's take a look at some of the decliners. And I wanted to highlight 2 travel names, 2 cruise names in particular. These are your 2 biggest losers in the S&P 500 on this pretty quiet day. Norwegian Cruise Lines down almost 6%. Carnival also down about or 5.4%. This as Hurricane Beryl, and I hope I said that right, is rushing towards the Caribbean. So this, of course, is the strongest ever June hurricane, meaning it's the earliest storm to reach Category 4. And you're really seeing that reflected in a lot of the travel stocks today, particularly in the cruises. So pretty bad day for Norwegian and Carnival, of course. And then had to talk about Chewy. Chewy, it actually was a gainer, and then it pretty quickly turned into a decliner. It's going to finish the day down almost 7% or so. I think we all know the story by now, but basically Keith Gill, Roaring Kitty, of course, of GameStop fame, he disclosed a 6.6 passive stake in Chewy. This was according to a disclosure with the SEC. He owns roughly 9 million Class A shares. Initially, that provided a pop, that formal disclosure, but that quickly turned into actually a pretty bad day for Chewy.
Fair enough. That was good. I thought you guys both did well. I thought you did a great job with gainers. Just putting it out there.
What's going on with yields?
Yields, okay, they're doing stuff. You guys are all like, nothing happened today, but they definitely did in the back end. So front end, sure, nothing really happened. But the back end had some nice movement here, up by about 8 basis points on the 20-year, and then the 10-year up by 7 basis points. So MLive had a nice piece out that said if you hit 4.5% on the 10-year, you're going to have some buying come in as a sell-off kind of reaches its max, and 4.5% becomes kind of appealing. So now I'm kind of watching that level as we have jobs on Friday, we have the minutes on Wednesday. So I think that could be quite interesting.
All right. Hey, I'm just want to do a quick correction that Wells Fargo put Tesla on its tactical ideas as a best short. So,
clarification.
yeah,
Thank
I want
you.
to thank Thomas
sense.
Thornton for getting in touch over the IB for pointing that out. I appreciate that, Thomas. I know. So I did mess it up. Hey,
oh, that sucks. Katie did it to you, man. I think that was just Katie.
It is Katie. Yeah. Hey, I wanted to talk a little bit about Taylor Swift. Did you guys go to the Eras Tour?
No.
Yeah. Neither did we.
My daughter's still asking to go, and we tried to tell her, be like, look, spending 10 grand to go to Poland to see a concert isn't something we can do.
Yeah, but think about how cheap things will be once you get over there.
That's adding it all in there. Okay. But anyway.
Well, the reason we're talking about this is because the company that actually builds and designs the stages, it's called Tate. It was started back in 1978. It's an engineering firm. And they don't just do the Eras Tour. They don't just do Taylor Swift shows. But they are exploring a potential sale, according to people with knowledge of the matter. And it could value them, Katie, at over $1 billion.
And Taylor Swift is a repeat customer here. That she also used them for her Reputation tour back in 2018. They also did Rihanna's Super Bowl halftime show and Beyonce's Renaissance World Tour in 2023. You have to think that that's all really great advertising if you build stages to have, some of the most famous people in the world on your stages.
I agree totally, but they're doing this, or they're talking about potentially going public right around the Taylor Swift tour. So it's a Taylor halo effect. Right?
It's a peak Tay-Tay? Is that
peak Tay-Tay? Maybe.
Is that what that is? I mean, I feel like we've been saying that for a while.
Could very well be.
Here's another story that, guys, I just loved. So Inca, if I'm saying that right, Investments, is the investment arm of the largest IKEA retailer. And apparently they're taking a stake in a new tower going up on Manhattan's Fifth Avenue. It's 570 Fifth Avenue. It's around 47th and Fifth Avenue. It's a huge tower, and it's going to have, quote, IKEA customer meeting point. I have zero idea what that is.
I just want to make a joke about building the tower with the directions that you get from IKEA.
That's pretty good.
That's all
it's
I want to do. It's
not going to be
right
like
now.
the Billy
If you have any
bookshelf.
questions, you call them up when you're putting it together.
Oh my God! Can you imagine that booklet that they hand you? And
How thick would that be?
The little things that you hammer in and you crying because it's so hard.
My reaction reading this story was, do we need an IKEA on Fifth Avenue? I mean, these customer meeting points, maybe that implies that it's not just the factory or, the storefront where those enormous, just tunnels of hallways of IKEA furniture. Clearly, I have some negative memories there, but is that what you need right on Fifth Avenue?
But if you don't have the actual full showroom, then what are you really showing people?
Unless there is a full showroom, unless it is that.
Yeah, well, that's the question. I mean, Katie's asking whether we need it, but if you don't have that and you just have a truncated version of the showroom, I think they did that in your office. It's not the full IKEA experience. You got to go in there and be prepared to spend the whole day.
What if that's
maybe take a nap on the bed and get some Swedish meatballs.
And if your relationship isn't testing and on the line when you're in IKEA, what's the point? Because that's the only way you know if you're set.
I'm glad you went there, Alex.
Yeah, not even the meatballs can help that.
Are you guys going to be here tomorrow?
We are.
Yeah,
okay.
we are.
Good news.
I'm also here, which is huge.
Great. We'll be back together tomorrow. That is going to do it for the Closing Bell. It's our cross-platform coverage of the market close on Bloomberg TV and radio, Bloomberg Originals and YouTube. Meantime, catch us tomorrow, same time and same place.